This photo is not what you think. Yes, it is a photo of an arch. It's not like AI generated artwork or anything, but it's also the end result of a ridiculous amount of effort and planning that eventually culminated into a multi-day expedition to go find the thing. And that's kind of the point of today's video. When I post this photo on Instagram today, maybe it will get 400, if I'm lucky 500 likes, a few shares, some comments, and then people will just scroll on past it and go about their day kind of forgetting about the whole thing by tomorrow. And I'm not mad. Please don't get it wrong. That's just the state of the internet in 2023. There's a lot of better photographs that people are scrolling past just as quickly. But that one photograph doesn't really tell the whole story behind how it was taken. I think there's this misconception about photographers that we, just drive down a paved road and then hike on a nice well-marked trail to a spot, set our cameras down at somewhere along the Grand Canyon or Mesa Arch, take a photo of the sunset, go home and pat ourselves in the back. And that's just not true for a lot of us out there. This video, it's not meant to brag. There are far more talented photographers doing much crazier things than me, but I wanted this video to kind of shed the light on the absurd lengths and ridiculous things that landscape photographers especially will do just to get a shot. So I first came across this spot while looking around on the World Arch database. It's a website that documents arches all over the world, and I was just hoping to find something that was new or that I hadn't seen before. And that's when I came across this really intriguing arch in Glen Canyon. There was a really cool photo, but it was pretty low resolution and didn't provide any information on exactly where it was. So I was able to do a reverse image search and found a website by the original photographer who documented how he originally found the arch and then was able to boat into Lake Powell and then climb up to the surrounding cliffs to go find it. But when I showed this to my friend John, he pointed out that the water levels in Lake Powell had dropped about 80 feet since this photo was taken, and we'd likely just waste a bunch of money trying to rent a boat and then drive all the way out there and get cliffed out. So after cross-referencing this guy's descriptions on how he got there with the satellite images on Google Earth, we were able to pinpoint the coordinates, and my friend John was able to find a road that went within just 6 miles of the arch, kind of a doable hike. The only problem is that this road was 36 miles of a Jeep trail that we could not find any information on. Fast forward a few months later, and John, my buddy Dustin, and his sister all had a free weekend, and we were able to then coordinate and meet at a nearby location. Even though the arch was only 100 miles from my house as the crow flies, because of the topography of canyon country out in Utah, we ended up having to drive 338 miles one way just to get to the meeting point, which would then be another 36 miles down the road, which then would get us within 6 miles of the arch. After that, we all hopped into John's truck and then started off on what I would consider to possibly be one of the worst roads in the world. And this is where we kept making the horrible mistake of thinking this can't possibly get rougher, all while it did just that. Those 36 miles ended up taking us roughly 7 hours, which was just enough time to set up camp before dark and get a little bit of sleep before the adventure for the next day. There was no trail, so we just bushwhacked our way across the desert, kind of meandering and trying not to get too far off course. And in the beating desert sun, we quickly realized that none of us had brought enough water for this trip, and that's when we had to start rationing. And finally, after an entire day of hiking and scrambling across slick rock, we made it to our destination and were able to set up camp again for that night. The arch itself was absolutely spectacular. It was way better than we thought based off of the one photo, and we ended up really lucking out and getting pretty amazing weather for our trip. We photographed it from every possible angle at sunset in the middle of the night and at sunrise in the morning before packing away all of our stuff and quickly trying to make this entire trip in reverse. And that is essentially the end of the journey. Tons of planning, hundreds of miles driven, a broken camera lens, dehydration, sunburn, and lots of damage to John's truck. All in the name of adventure and the promise of some good photos. So guys, I hope this behind the scenes video was inspiring to some of you, or at the very least a little bit entertaining. And I hope it can encourage you guys to also go out there and have your own adventures. And maybe you already do. Maybe you already have gone out and done much crazier adventures than this one and gotten way better photos than the one I had. And if so, I'd love to see it and I would love to hear about it as well. So I do want to thank you for watching and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.